I never intended to utter a single syllable that afternoon. My only intention was to observe, to stand witness from the shadows. The graduation ceremony had reached its midpoint when the commanding general abruptly froze in place, the sharp scrape of his polished boots echoing across the parade deck. His gaze swept past my brother, the gleaming poster child of our nation's pride, past my parents with their frozen, rehearsed smiles, and locked directly onto me. "Colonel Winslow," he said, clear and deliberate, "you're present." 1,000 voices died at once. The flag stopped snapping in the breeze. My brother's triumphant smile faltered, twitched, then crumbled. Something inside my parents' carefully constructed fantasy fractured wide open. In that suspended heartbeat, while every head swiveled toward the back row where I stood motionless, I finally savored the instant I had nurtured in silence for 3 brutal, corrosive years. To grasp why I remained there, wordless yet radiating menace, you must first know exactly what they stole from me. Before everything shattered, Ethan had been my constant echo. 2 years my junior, he trailed me like a second heartbeat, copying every milestone I carved out with blood and exhaustion. I mistook it for hero worship. I never noticed the raw envy burning beneath his admiration. At 14 he would perch on the edge of my rack in the barracks, wide-eyed, begging me to describe the taste of combat, how to force lungs to keep working when panic clawed at them, how to lock a mind in place when the body screamed surrender. I poured everything I had into him. "One day you'll leave me in the dust," I told him, ruffling his hair. "Some promises curdle into venom the moment they leave your mouth." The first fracture appeared the day I returned unannounced from an overseas tour. I expected the usual cluster of family at the flight line, signs and hugs and proud tears. Instead I found them circled around Ethan on the living room floor, shrieking with joy over his freshly stamped orders to bead/s. Not one of them had bothered to mention it to me. My mother crushed him against her while my father pounded his back hard enough to rattle bone, booming, "At last, a son who finishes what he starts." I had never quit a single thing in my life. Black missions do not send postcards home. They arrive wrapped in silence, and I had worn that silence like a second skin. That was the moment I caught Ethan staring at me. Not with gratitude, not with brotherhood, but with the cool, calculating look of a thief who has just lifted something priceless and is waiting to see if the owner will make a scene. The second fracture came quietly, from a trash bag in my father's study. Shredded pages of my own fitness reports, confidential, eyes only, sealed, reassembled like a puzzle on my bedroom floor. Entire paragraphs excised. Fabricated failures inserted in red ink. Medals and commendations vanished as though they had never existed. Someone had been feeding my family a counterfeit version of their eldest son. Then came the killing stroke. An email forwarded by mistake from a former commander I had served under for years. Ethan, using my name, my signature, my military email domain, had contacted him privately. The message claimed I was spiraling, suffering breakdowns, and begged for quiet administrative separation before I embarrassed the service. He had invented the breakdown I never suffered. He had scripted my disgrace so he could step onto the stage I supposedly vacated. My brother did not climb on talent alone. He climbed over the corpse of my reputation that he himself had murdered. I did not scream. I did not storm into rooms waving evidence. I did none of the loud, satisfying things a lesser man might have done. I simply disappeared into the dark and began collecting every forged document, every altered timestamp, every voice message my mother left on distant relatives' phones, voice trembling with pity for her unstable firstborn. Every lie my father repeated at officers' clubs like gospel. I met with judge-advocate attorneys in windowless rooms. I sat across from my old commanding officer while he played back recorded lines Ethan thought had vanished forever. I pulled server logs, security camera stills, metadata no civilian would ever think to request. I built a case so airtight, so immaculate it gleamed like ice. The goal was never to destroy Ethan with my own hands. The goal was to hand him the rope and watch him hang himself with it. They sent me an invitation out of awkward duty, the washed-up brother, the family embarrassment who couldn't hack it. I arrived in dress blues tailored the day I made lieutenant colonel, every ribbon in place, every device classified above their need to know. I took my place at the very rear of the formation, hands clasped behind my back, face carved from stone. When the general's eyes found me across 200 yards of asphalt, the shock that flashed across his face was not uncertainty. It was recognition. He had personally signed the final page of the investigation, the page that carried Ethan's name, not mine. My brother's breath caught so violently I heard it from 50 feet away. He whipped his head from the general to me and back again, watching the carefully rehearsed play of his life tear itself in half on a public stage. What is he doing here? The question came out a strangled whisper. The general ignored him completely. He stepped to the microphone and let the silence stretch until it hurt. This portion of the ceremony, he announced, voice steady as a court gavel, contains an administrative correction. You could feel the temperature drop 10 degrees. Effective immediately, candidate Ethan Winslow is removed from all SEAL qualification pipelines pending full investigation into charges of document forgery, impersonation of a commissioned officer, falsification of official records, and conspiracy to obstruct military justice. A collective inhale sharp enough to bruise ribs. My mother folded in half as if shot. My father aged a decade in a single second. The general was not finished. He pivoted toward me, then returned his gaze to the podium. For the record, he continued, the service record of Colonel Marcus Winslow has never been in doubt. His contributions remain classified at the highest levels and are beyond reproach. My name rolled across the parade deck like a shockwave. Ethan could not lift his eyes to meet mine. There is no gaze steady enough to look at the man whose shadow you tried to wear as your own skin. People think vengeance roars. Mine arrived wearing the quiet of a tomb. It was the hush that settled afterward, thick and irreversible. It was my parents finally understanding the depth of the grave they had helped dig for their own son. It was the empty chair at the head table where the new hero was supposed to sit. It was the truth standing taller than any monument, and I never had to raise my voice once. These days when the memory surfaces, the general's words still ringing, the formation frozen in place, my brother's future collapsing into ash, I no longer taste victory. I taste something far rarer. Peace.